What's up, you guys? American, welcome back to my channel. No, you grow up. In today's video, I'm back to open up some more figures. So this is a day that I've kind of been dreading a little bit. We're all pretty aware of all the issues with waves 5 and 6 right now, and I'm really afraid of how I'm going to feel about Super 7 after I open all these figures. If you guys have seen any of my earlier videos, you know how much I love these figures. Waves 1 through 4 were amazing. I love those figures so much. April, I'm a little indifferent on, but pretty much every other figure I just love. I loved all of those figures. I got all the exclusives. I have been all in on this line since it started. It's not really fair to judge things until you've experienced them for yourself, so I'm going to give all these figures a fair shot. And even if I do have all the typical problems that everybody else is having, I am at least prepared for it, so it won't be as big of a bummer as if I would have gotten these figures right away and opened them right away. It also helps that Entertainment Earth has been running this sale for almost ever now, and getting these figures at a cheaper price will definitely take a little bit of that sting out too, but even $38 is still pretty damn expensive for a figure. So I'm going to crack all these guys open, and I'm not only going to give my first thoughts on these figures, but pretty much all the figures that have come out since Wave 4.
Alright you guys, so we're going to start taking a look at these 7 figures right here. After we do a look at all these guys that I just opened, we're going to bring in all the other figures from waves 5 and 6, as well as the undercover Raph and the glow-in-the-dark Muckman. So I'm not going to bullshit you guys, my expectations could not have been any lower, and honestly, I wasn't very disappointed with this. I definitely have my issues and we're going to go over that. And of course the number one thing that I knew was going to happen was getting those crappy hip joints on the Samurai Leo. And that is a bummer because I know a lot of people say he looks kind of flat, and he does. I will definitely agree with that, and we'll talk about that when we get to him more, but he is just definitely the worst engineered figure out of any figure in the line. Like, it's just, he should have been a recall. It makes no sense how they put him out the way he is. It's legitimately a broken figure. He is very loose. I'm very good at getting figures to stand, so again, I have everybody standing here. It's just something I kind of have a knack for, but I can understand the frustrations that a lot of people probably went through because, again, it is frustrating. I have him standing there, but he definitely sags the second you put him down, so we'll go over that a little bit more here in a bit. But again, overall, the issues were not as bad as I thought they were going to be. My Leatherhead is great. He has great joint integrity. I have no issues with mine. He can stand in pretty much any position that I want him to. And then honestly, Ace Duck's jacket doesn't look as bad in hand as it does even on camera right here. I definitely still wish it was darker. It's a big swing and a miss on their part. Just low-hanging fruit that they should have got right. But I'm definitely not that upset with him.
So let's actually start off with Ace Duck here. So these two waves definitely have one great thing going for them, and it is the head sculpts. There's some excellent head sculpts in these two waves, and Ace Duck might have my favorite one in the whole line, honestly. This head sculpt saves this figure for me. It's fun enough to where I can kind of get over the jacket and stuff like that. I don't really mind that he's small, and I didn't have the other issue that I forgot to mention earlier, which was not being able to get my wings to peg in. Mine are in there very solidly. They're not going anywhere, so I don't have any issues with mine. If you guys saw Mad Hatter's review, his was a nightmare. And again, I can understand why that would put a sour taste in someone's mouth, but for me personally, mine is fine. So other than the jacket issue, I don't really have a lot of issues with this figure. I think he looks pretty great. Again, I don't mind that he's a little bit smaller, but that head sculpt is just my favorite. It's a bummer that they couldn't get that smoking crusty head in the Simpsons line. I understand Disney's probably calling the shots there, but it's super sweet. We got this one right here, and again, it's just one of my favorite head sculpts, and I actually think this figure is a lot better than most people have so far. Unpopular opinion, other than the jacket, I think this is a pretty good figure. So let's take a look at my least anticipated figure in these two waves, and it was Scratch. Again, I understand why they thought this would be a cool figure to add so early. He's uncommon. He's not a rare figure. Don't say that he's a rare figure. People will attack you. But he's an uncommon figure, and again, I get it, but I didn't have very high expectations for this figure. It's one that I don't have any nostalgia for. That being said, I'm very impressed with this figure. He's probably one of the better figures they've done. All of his joint integrity is really good. His accessories are awesome. That birthday cake gun is just so freaking sweet. I like his little sack of money with a dollar sign on it there, and I wish they made like a regular one and the one with the gold hanging out, but it's cool nonetheless. I like that accessory. Whoops. And I wish this just wasn't attached here like this. That's kind of a pain in the ass. He did fall earlier and it broke off and I reattached it, so it's kind of annoying that the ball and chain is just kind of permanently on there. This is a figure I just wanted to get to kind of stay complete on the line, and I was just, again, pretty impressed with it. This figure is a lot better than I expected it to be. I actually enjoy it very much, and I'm pretty happy with it and don't have really any complaints with this figure. Taking a look at Jailbird here, he's pretty cool. His deco is spot on. He looks great. Not any articulation or anything on him. He is pretty much just like a statue figure, but nonetheless, his paint job is really good. He's great for one of the little sidekick characters. I think he's definitely my second favorite of the two that came with these two waves. And just a great accessory. He looks good. Don't really have any complaints with him. We'll just keep moving around the horn here. So Ray Fillet is a figure that I said was very overrated. I didn't really like him that much in the original line. I know a lot of people have the attachment to him from the Archie comics too, but I don't really have that attachment. I hated his character in the cartoon. And again, the action figure just didn't really do it for me. But this guy is amazing. Outside the glaring issue of that hip gap that he has that Casey suffers from, this is a great figure. He just looks great everywhere. His deco is great. His sculpt is great. He's just big and menacing. I really like his alternate head sculpt. It's a little bit more menacing. And again, even though he's a good guy, I like that he kind of has this more scary looking face sculpt. But his eyes just look so good. Like, they killed it on this one. Again, it's one of those things where if they could just get that hip gap figured out, this figure would probably be close to a 10 out of 10 figure. Taking a look at Fish Dicks here, so he's got a little bit of head articulation, which is pretty cool. Again, they could have just made him a statue figure like Jailbird over there, but nice little touch that they added that articulation. Just the fact that he is a suicide bomber and they got this in the original Playmates line is just a testament to 90s toys and the craziness that everything was. But he looks great. He's definitely my favorite of the two sidekick characters from this line, and he might be my favorite period. I think I like him a little bit more than G.A.B.A. And again, he's just really fun. His deco's really on point. Just another really cool accessory. Alright, so let's take a look at one of the best redemption figures in the line so far. If you've seen my review on the Playmates line, you guys know that Leatherhead is my least favorite figure in the entire line. Or at least I think I said he was anyway. But anyway, his character is just so disappointing. He's just so puny and just so little, and it's just such an odd choice for what they were doing at the time. But this figure completely makes up for that. I know some people had issues with his joint integrity and stuff like that, but mine is very stiff. I can get him standing, no problem. Whoops, dropped off his lobster there. Yeah, I really don't have any issues with this figure. I think he looks great. He's big, he's menacing, he's everything that I wanted the original figure to be. I know people don't like those buck teeth, but they are working with the original figure, the original mold and stuff like that, so I don't really mind that that's the way it looks because it's pretty accurate. And I understand they probably couldn't include an extra head with him just because he's so big, he's so much plastic. I think he might have the biggest box out of any figure, but I'm not sure. But he's just an awesome, big, hulking figure, and I'm just really glad that the Horsemen did what they do and brought out what the original sculptors intended for this figure. Alright, so I just recorded that whole thing without the camera on, but taking a look at the glow-in-the-dark foot soldier here, so I know a lot of people say that these are a cash grab, they're overpriced, and I will agree with both those statements, but I love glow-in-the-dark. It's one of my favorite play features. I like the way glow-in-the-dark figures look even when they're not glowing. So I do think these are overpriced. The Turtles, insanely overpriced. They already have these molds. I understand glow plastic's up, but it doesn't make sense why they're charging that much for them, but whatever. I willingly paid the price, so I'm not going to bitch about it anymore. Kind of suffers from that issue that a lot of glow-in-the-dark figures do. I didn't have to break out the hairdryer on any figures, but I'm definitely going to need to for him. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it here probably a little bit later before I get him posed, but he is as stiff can be. I don't even want to try to move any of his joints. And again, it's just another one of those downsides with that glow-in-the-dark plastic. It's just a little bit stiffer, so hopefully I can get him at least squatted a little bit, get his arms bent, and I probably won't move him much from there after that. I want to go out on a high note, so we're going to talk about this guy first. So, glaring issue. Set him down. And he just has so much wiggle. It's ridiculous how bad his hip joints are. Again, I can get him standing in the pose that he's in, and we'll kind of talk about some other stuff on here too, because it's been said, terrible. I don't know how they could put this figure out like this, but nonetheless, I have him. He's here in my hand, and if that wasn't the issue, I wouldn't be too bummed about this figure. I think he looks pretty good. he is definitely just flat, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the gold. I'm not 100% sure, but I love his head sculpt. It's probably one of my absolute favorites, but the chest armor just looks kind of lacking. I feel like this is one of the rare instances where the Playmates figure actually looks a little bit more exciting than the Super 7 one does, but the head sculpt definitely gives him a little bit of an edge there. And I like how he comes with a couple sets of katanas, and then he comes with the Wazakashi or the Wakazashi. I can never remember if the Z or the K comes first, but it's just cool that they got the swords right on this one. And again, if it wasn't for those hip issues, he would be a great figure, so just a bummer that there's a big letdown with what could have been a really awesome figure. I know a lot of people are here for the mainline figures, but if you guys have seen any of my other videos, you'll know that a lot of the figures that I had were Turtle Subline figures. And this is my favorite subline, and he might be my favorite figure of these two waves. I have no issues with this figure. He looks amazing. His colors look great. His deco is on point. Just the detail on the back there, the shells, the seaweed, the zipper on the wetsuit, everything just looks so good on him. His board, I scuffed up a little bit there trying to get him to hold it up there, so that's my bad for messing up that sticker. The alternate head sculpt is really awesome on him. Again, I think he might be one of my favorite figures, period. He's just done so well. This figure is just so 90s. It's done in such 90s colors. Like, it just nails the nostalgia while giving you that updated feel. And this is just what Super 7 is all about. This is what they do. They take some of the best figures and make them even better. And this is just a shining example that they still do have something left in the tank. I know the next couple waves, hopefully they don't have the QC issues, but regardless, they're just kind of some odd character choices. But I'm really happy with this wave for the most part. Again, these figures are fun. I enjoy almost all of them, and even the ones that I wasn't super excited about ended up being a lot better than I expected them to be.
Alright, you guys, so we're bringing in the whole crew for this one. So this is all of Wave 5, all of Wave 6, the two glow-in-the-dark figures, and the Raphael exclusive figure that have been released since Wave 4. The only thing I don't have is the Mouser pack, and I may or may not get that. I consider that more of an accessory pack than I do a real figure, so I don't really feel like I'm missing out too much if I don't get that. So let's just talk about the figures that I haven't touched on yet. If you haven't seen my video, I have an entire one on Slash. I'm pretty happy with that figure. I'm still very happy with him. He's going to be a top 10 figure of the year for me. I don't mind the deco. I can understand why some people think it's a bait and switch, and I don't disagree with that at all, but I'm still very pleased with that figure as a whole. Krang is definitely my biggest disappointment in the entire line so far. I had really high expectations for him. Him and Slash were the only two villains that I ever had as a kid, so this was a very important figure for me. It was really important that they got it right. Aesthetically, he looks great, but his legs on the bubble walker are awful. It is so hard to get him standing. That's about the only position that I can get him standing in, and I don't even want to touch him because I don't want him to fall and have to look stupid for the rest of this video, so I'm going to leave all those figures right there. And again, just such a big bummer on Super 7's part there. Just a big swing and a miss. Aesthetically, he looks great. It's cool that he does come with two different heads, and he comes with the tripod, so you can display him twice. That's a little bit of a, I don't know, just silver lining there, but really wish they would have done something better with that figure and just fix those legs. The glow-in-the-dark Muckman, again, my favorite sculpt possibly in the entire Playmates line and Super 7 line. He looks great. I like the glow-in-the-dark variation. The only gripe I have, if you're going to charge us more for glow-in-the-dark figures, they better glow just as long as the old ones did. He glows bright and fast, but he loses it so fast, and that's kind of a disappointment because I do charge these guys up every night before I go to bed. I like it, I know, whatever, they're nerd night lights. I'm not afraid of the dark or anything. It's fun. I like having a little bit of fun before I go to bed. I like waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him there. So just a bummer that he definitely doesn't hold his glow that long. And then moving over to this Raph figure, so this figure, it's definitely a double-edged sword. So I'm a Raph guy. I like this figure. And honestly, I think it's one of the best figures they put out. Like, his joint integrity is even better than the regular Turtles. He's great. The soft goods coat is awesome. I don't mind that the head sculpt always has the hat on. That doesn't really bother me any because I'm always going to leave the trench coat on him anyway. But I think he's a great figure. But at the cost of what this figure came at, just having the undercover Donnie pushed back so far is just such a disappointment. He's one of my favorite figures, and just the fact that we're not going to get him for a really long time is just such a big bummer. But other than that, I do really like that Raph figure. Again, I have some bias. Raph's my favorite. I'm always going to want to get any Raph variants that I can. So as a whole, just not thinking about anything else, I do really like that figure a lot. So just going over some of my closing thoughts here. Again, much less disappointed as a whole than I thought I was going to be. It definitely helps that I had a lot of time and I didn't get these figures right away, so I just didn't get hit with these initial disappointments myself. Again, I think these figures are a lot of fun. They have good sculpts. The paint, I think it's kind of bullshit that they're still advertising these figures with the original promotional material, knowing that that's not what the final figures look like. They should definitely do something about that, because that is, at this point, definitely just a bait and switch. But I don't really have a whole lot of other gripes. There are some issues here and there, but that's just going to happen with toy lines. Nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to defend Super 7. I've said that these are my favorite figures, period, but I definitely have more gripes with Super 7 as a company than I do maybe even Hasbro. So it'll probably be a while before we get our next figures in this line. I'm really happy to get my display reset here and maybe get my Super 7 figures in a little bit of a better position now that I just got this huge shot in the arm. So that's all I have for you guys for this one. So I'm going to put up a poll after this one, and I'm going to let you guys vote on which opening video I do next. So it's either going to be all my TMNT comic figures, or it's going to be all the other figures I collect. So it'll be a ton of X-Men, there's a Motu figure, a G.I. Joe, a Transformers, and there might be a little something else in there. So thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you guys for sticking around, liking the videos, commenting. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing. Feel free to chime in with your 2 cents. Your opinion is always welcome here. So take it easy, be safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.